I have to come back.
All right, all right. Cool. Jen, Tawantis, tell me about Bold yesterday.
Well,
Um,
mine did not work really well. It just kept going in and out. So today, while I'm running my dialer, I'm going to try to rerun it on uh, my computer.
Okay, cool. Cool, cool.
let me.
Did you have any trouble with it, Bill? Did you watch it last night?
I watched the replay to be honest, and I'm only like 25 minutes in, but
Gotcha.
I did not have any trouble. I actually noticed something. I don't know if it was a glitch or not, but I've never been able to watch a Facebook video and then exit that screen and go to
Hmm.
something else and keep the video. And for
Yeah.
the first time, I was able to do that. You know how
Yeah, I
YouTube, if you're
wasn't
watching a
able to do
YouTube
that.
video and you go check your email, the YouTube video will keep going.
Hmm.
Facebook, I think, started to do that, which is that allows me to listen to that in the background, kind of.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
y'all,
going to try that today because that might be nice.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Twantis?
I gotta tell you too, my favorite thing that I got out of bowl yesterday. It was my favorite comment, and it was actually probably one of the things I woke up with this morning. One of the young ladies at the end, you guys, she mentioned, she said, "You do not control or create your life," and then she said, "But your habits will create your life." It was like one of the most, I think, just one of the best things that was said yesterday that stood out, because it was kind of like, you know how we all, you mask out and you say, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what I'm gonna do, but if your habits don't line up to that, that's really not going to be the case for you. So I just really thought that comment was so effective yesterday, out of almost everything I heard yesterday, just from the intro.
Yeah, I love the intro part where they were talking about all you guys need to bring is your desire and your commitment. Desire and commitment. Every day you should be analyzing your desire and your commitment, right? Am I more driven to keep the life I got or to go create, and nothing against the life we have. But if you're not where you want to be, then your desire and your commitment have got to be tweaked, right? I might botch the delivery of that line too, but Jeff Woods, who hosts the One Thing podcast, he says that line almost every single time. Is we don't control our we don't create our lives. We create our habits, and our habits create our lives, right? And I think that is just so straight to the point. It's so beautiful,
Yeah.
right? Like, look, if I sleep through my alarm every day and don't work out, I'm not going to get rid of the belly. It's just, there ain't no way around it, because I'm probably not saving it by what I eat, right? I'm working on that too. Maybe I need a fitness coach or something.
I'd like to try to find one for our office.
A fitness coach?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have like, all of us should go and hire like a personal trainer that meets us at like Planet Fitness at like 6 in the morning and works us out like madmen. And then we all take our showers there and come into the office and kill the phones.
That's what, I'm going to talk to Aubrey about going on the ALC as um, for health and wellness because we haven't had anybody as long as I've been there.
You're right. We
Um,
haven't. Every once in a while, we've had like a dietitian come in, or a chiropractor come in, or something, or a lotions and potions person come in. No offense. Um, but we haven't had. There's not been any like real thing. I mean, Tawantas, you're at Planet Fitness, aren't you?
I Planet Fitness, but I have a online program too. So this is like my life.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe you can be one of our consultants or operators.
Oh yeah, I would love that.
are you a personal trainer, Tawantis?
Actually, not I wouldn't say trainer because I haven't one got certified, but coach. Like I've been active forever. I used to have a studio, Jan. And so I normally would do dance and fitness, but now I kind of stick more to doing a lot of dance, and I do some online dance classes, but a lot of the fitness is what I wanted to say.
All
And
right.
you've got a whole what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, um, Apparel line
Oh yeah,
of workout outfits, Jan.
yeah,
Nice. Nice.
yeah.
All right, let's start talking a little bit about, anything else from Bold that you guys, that sunk in or you heard?
Just that, you know, I say this over and over again. I tell people all the time, I'm not a drink the Kool-Aid kind of person, and we all know that. But what I do get from Bold every single time is just a new mindset. I just come out with that push,
Mhm.
and it's like Twanta said, you know, they say that same thing every time, Twantas. It's like Bill said, quite a few people use that in their business model. But, you know, it's just sometimes you need to be reminded of those teeny weeny little pieces, not the big stuff, because the big
Yes.
stuff you see every single day, but it's the little stuff that just tweaks your mindset of, I can do this, I can do this,
Right,
Hmm.
you know?
right. And
That's what it makes you feel like too.
just to see so many examples of success, right? Evidence of success.
Hmm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you about to say, Twantis?
I was saying that's what it makes you feel like. I really enjoyed Molly bringing out her at the end of it too. She shared a little bit about her just even going through her 66 day, right? And I thought that was nice how she threw that in there and let us know about her transparency and how that was for her because she didn't do it. And then just really just staying on board to get it done. I like that a lot. I
Yep.
think it's really even better when people acknowledge the fact of what they did not do on their path to even getting to what they are doing more so.
Yeah.
Because literally, when everybody is starting out, it's all those things that we're really having to deal with, not the fact that we're already right here. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
it's like right here, that part that keeps getting people tripped up over and over, that would be good to be emphasized sometimes.
Well, you know, it's like Ignite. You know, when I went through Ignite, I was just out of my chemo treatment, so it was all I could do to get there. So I didn't do the homework, I didn't engage. But if I
Mm,
had to do it all over again, I would go back and retake Ignite and do what Melba told me to do for my business. And I don't
mm,
think we teach new agents that enough. Is that, you know, I know it's going to kill you to set up your database in those 2 days time that, you know, between when you leave class and when you come back to class. You know, I know it's going to kill you to make those phone calls because you have so much, you know, swirling in your head and you're overwhelmed. But I think if we give new agents the idea going in that that is so important to their business, and whatever you don't accomplish and you can't get accomplished in that amount of time, that you go back immediately afterwards and follow that book and get that stuff set up, because that is the baseline of your business. And I don't, you know, you don't know what you don't know.
right.
That's what Bold is to me, is
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know. And every time I take Bold, some new little something pops up and says, huh, hmm, didn't know
That's
that.
so right. Um, the interesting thing is that, a lot of people come to this business and they've not been business owners before.
Hmm.
And so they think to themselves, somebody else is going to do this for me. Somebody else is going to drop a well-qualified seller in my lap or a well-qualified buyer on my lap. And we all know that
The
that's not
case,
realistic thinking, right? And
right.
like success is not required, right? You're not required to lead generate. You don't have to go on any
Hmm.
events if you don't want to, but you won't see any closing tables.
It's
So
Right.
amazing how many agents enter this business that don't realize they're going into business for themselves.
yeah,
Hmm.
You
I mean,
know,
that is essentially that's my world. That's my life right now, is
Right.
helping agents understand that if they desire a high quality of life, which is basically the reason why every single agent I've ever spoken to got into the business, then you better figure out two main things. One is controlling lead flow. If you're
Hmm.
focused on someone else for lead flow, don't you you're it's almost impossible to set goals.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you want to make $150,000 and then turn around and ask me where the lead's at.
Hmm.
Those don't connect, right?
Hmm.
It just don't connect. You're going to
Right.
take whatever the person giving you the leads or selling you the leads wants you to make. If you want more, you got to go hunt it down yourself. The
Hmm.
next thing you got to figure out is how to be in a business, have business people around you that are talking about growth and leverage and hiring and tech and systems and these kind of things so you can take it to the next level and you
Hmm.
essentially buy your time back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? What I find to be, you know, kind of people don't realize, look, do you have to put together a database? No. But are there opportunities that exist in the mess you currently have that you're not taking advantage of? And if you would take advantage of, you could probably cash a 5-figure check. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, knowing that, are you going to find something else to do, or is this going to actually make it to the top of your list at some point? And
Right.
either choice is fine with me. But if you want something unusual in life, you got to behave unusually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm not the biggest Dave Ramsey fan, but it's like he says, if you want to, we do what no one else does now, so we can do what no one else does later. Right? Isn't that his line?
I've heard that.
Same thing, right? I'm not going to go out, having $200 bar tabs so that later I can retire 3 years earlier than you, right? Or have a paid off mortgage when you are struggling, right? I'm prioritize different stuff, and therefore my behavior is going to look different from yours because you prioritized ideally something else. Some people prioritize making sure they don't miss a Facebook post. That's not really a priority for me. You see what I'm saying? Cool. Let's talk about language for a minute. You guys want to learn some stuff about language?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
So as you know, I'm taking you guys are at the level, by the way, and maybe we could create some synergies within our little group here on us taking group maps coaching calls and then bringing some of the material back and sharing it with each other so we can all learn together. One of probably my favorite course that I've only taken once, I'm in the middle of taking it again now, is Language of Sales. And Language of Sales is it is essentially just getting purposeful and studying the patterns of language, right? How to be more persuasive, how to be more convincing, how to build better rapport, how to move the process along. It's not language of manipulation, right? I haven't figured out a way to get somebody to buy a home they can't afford, right? I haven't figured out a way to help them buy a 4-bedroom home when they really want a 5-bedroom home, right? I haven't figured out a way to get them to buy in Tucker when they really want to buy in Smyrna. Like, it doesn't work that way. It's just helping them get to what they want faster and more efficiently with less noise. Make sense? So one of the concepts that we learned that I think we briefly went over last week was this idea of modal operators. Did we cover that last week? It's a verb that modifies a verb. An example would be, I have to lead generate. I must do it now. I need to take this listing, right? A verb describes an activity. A modal operator defines or describes how the focus of how, or the energy around how the activity is done. It actually functions the same way an adverb does. However, it always precedes the verb. Okay, so an example, let's say there's a quote by a guy named Peter Ducker that says, the most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't being said, right? You're always communicating. You're either communicating with your words or your lack of words, your body language or your lack of body language, your tonality or your lack of tonality, right? It's impossible not to communicate, right? So let's say, let's use the idea of setting an appointment. So here's a couple different ways that we could say it. I want to set an appointment. I have to set an appointment. I need to set an appointment. I can set an appointment. And I choose to set an appointment, right? Y'all hear the difference in those?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what's that?
I was just saying yes too. Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of basically categories. There's modal operators of what's called necessity, modal operators of possibility, and modal operators of probability, and modal operators of choice. So let me give you some examples of that. Necessity would be.
Before you do that, Bill, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can we download this material from
It's a paid course, so I'd have to share it with you offline. But yeah, I mean, I have access to the download, so I can share it with you.
Okay, perfect.
Will you remind me though, because I'm sure I'm gonna forget that. Actually, I'll write it down. Sales to Jan. I probably get in trouble for doing that, so please keep that on the download.
Absolutely.
So modal operators of necessity are all moving away from something. Okay. Remember, we generally move away from pain or we move towards pleasure. According to the research, 90% of people make decisions going away from pain rather than pursuit of pleasure, right? So the idea here is we're listening for how our colleagues or how our prospects are talking, right? So are they using words like should, must, have to, ought to, right? They feel like they have to do it. It's a necessity. A different way of approaching is modal operators of possibility. Can, able to, capable, will. That's more powerful. That's moving towards pleasure. Okay. Modal operators of probability, right? Could, may, might, had better. Okay. And motivators of choice is all towards pleasure as well. That's choose to, select, or decide. So I need to lead generate. You're moving away from pain, right? The way that they said is you can imagine who's saying it. I need to lead generate. It almost sounds like it's my mom saying it, right? I need to, Billy, you need to lead generate. It doesn't make me really want to lead generate. You see what I'm saying? It's like almost like a chore that I don't really want to do. If I must take care of it today. Same kind of way, you're going away from pain. I am capable of handling that test. You're moving towards pleasure. You're in more control. You have more power. I had better take that project over. That's moving towards pleasure as well, right? We need to lead them. We need to meet them where they are. And we're going to create urgency and motivation around these language patterns, right? Depending on which words they use will vary based on their intensity. Okay. So like somebody might say like, I need to write up this offer. Well, why is that? Right? Maybe I need to dig a little bit into why they feel they need to. Like, is there an unusual amount of urgency here that I'm not aware of? You might want to ask an additional question on that, right? There's also some ideas of what's called recovery questions, okay? Recovery questions, a client might say, I can't write the offer. And you say, is it that you can't or that you won't? And the client says, I can't write the offer. And you said, well, what would happen if you did write the offer? Right? You're recovering and getting them to move towards possibility rather than this idea of them moving away from pain or using language that is particularly avoiding or negative, right? You're basically getting them to, you're switching on them. You're basically causing them to have to look at their situation from a different angle, right? They call these recovery questions. Well, what would happen if you did? Right? What would happen if you didn't? Right? Let's say somebody says, well, I can't hire an assistant. I can't hire somebody to do my paperwork. You know, I need to make sure everything is perfect. Say, well, what would happen if you did? And they have to go into a different part of their brain to process that, right? What would happen if you didn't, right? What would happen if you didn't move brokerages and you wrote an $80,000 check to your broker next year instead of what you could pay to be at Keller Williams? What would happen if you didn't move? Well, I guess when my broker showed up in a new fancy car, I could say, well, shit, I was the one that bought that one, right? What's the worst thing that can happen? Well, I can't make 40 contacts in one day. Well, what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, I guess the worst thing that could happen is I book 3 listing appointments and I have to stay up all night getting organized. Ooh, sounds like you might make $30,000. Is that worth staying up one night for? See what I'm saying? What would the consequences be? Right? What stops you? What would happen if you could? Well, I can't, I can't go to bold. Well, what would happen if you could? Did you guys hear at the very beginning of bold where they said, we are committed to playing all in and to attending every bold session? Did you hear him say that? Right? Everything is a choice, guys. We choose to do certain things, and you're choosing your priorities every time you make a choice. Well, I choose to go work out in the middle of the day instead of going to bold. Okay, great. So I'm not here to judge whether that's a smart move or not. I'm just asking you if that behavior is currently getting you to where you want to be. If the answer to that is no, perhaps we should reevaluate that choice. Any questions on any of that? Any questions? Any questions?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say, but no questions. But you know what it sounds like? It sounds like you're subtly like telling someone, and you're really just diverting them from going from a negative approach of thought to just really thinking about other opportunities. And that's what you're trying to pull out when you engage in that kind of conversation. So they don't feel helpless in a situation, but that they feel kind of like empowered over a situation that they feel like they don't have any other options to control. That's kind of what it sounds like what you're doing.
That you're exactly right. You said that. That was really well said. Exactly. So it's kind of like, well, I don't know if they'll accept this lower offer. Well, what happens if they did? I mean, is there a possibility that they could? Well, I don't know. Well, how could we find out? Well, perhaps we could write it up and send it off and see what they could say.
Well, here's what I tell people that call me on my properties all the time. They're like, oh, you think they'll take 250 when it's listed for 350? I'm like, here's the thing. I doubt they'll take it. I said, but we have to have a starting conversation.
Yeah.
If we don't have a place to start, we don't have a place to have a conversation. I said, because I don't know until I present an offer to them whether or not they'll accept it. I said, and it's not my job to make their decision for them. It's my job to present offers to them. I said, and I can't start a conversation with you about that offer unless I present them an offer. So why don't you do this? Send me an offer. And I said, the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to say no. I
Right.
said, but until you send me an offer, even if you just type it up in an email, you don't want to do all the contracts to start, I'm okay with that. I said, it's a lowball offer. So, and the chances of them accepting it are very narrow. I said, but it's a place for us to start a conversation. And we can't get an accepted offer without a conversation.
I really like that approach. And you know what that does I'm sure you figured this out, but it's not as obvious, is that these investors that are trying to buy a $350,000 home for 250, they're getting like, no, man, quit wasting my time when they call about an offer like that. And you're the person who probably would prefer to say that, yet you choose totally different words. You're like, hey, let's have a conversation.
I mean, I got on a property and I've been talking to these people for 6 months about this property. It's got some lease issues. I don't even have enough time to go into the issues this property has. But that was the approach I took with the other agent. We've worked together to get an offer from her client. She lowballed it by $100,000. And my clients had it way overpriced. So I think we've got a deal unless they just balk at it. I spoke to her last night. They were running some numbers and were going to get back to me. But I think we've got a deal at 270, So
wow.
I brought it up $20,000. I brought my clients down 50. So I think we're there. And I hope, because I've had it listed for going on 2 years now.
Right. So it's obvious to your seller that 350 is not the right number. It's obvious to you. And you came at this with optimism and possibility. And if anything, like if this guy, he knows that if he's going to do more business in this area, he's going to come to you. I'm talking about the buyer, because you were friendly and you talked in language of possibility, right?
Exactly. And you know, if I hadn't been kind to the other agent instead of just blowing her off and laughing at her, we wouldn't be here. You know,
100%.
because that would have been the approach of a lot of other agents. You know, are you kidding? That's $100,000 less than what it's listed for. No, you know,
Like, yeah,
by
if you were going to
bringing
sell it
it
for
around
250,
to,
I would have bought it 2 years ago.
yeah, you
Right.
know, and it's just been, you know, and I learned that the hard way several times because, you know, I had all these properties listed and I couldn't get them sold, and nobody was sending me offers either, so I didn't even have anything to present to my sellers.
Right. And therefore you were having a hard time, it was hard to have a conversation about pricing because you weren't getting any feedback other than the fact that no one was submitting offers.
Right.
Right.
I have another property right now, and you know, not only am I not getting feedback, but you know, I'm not even having conversations. Well, I've told this guy twice how much overpriced his property is, and eventually he'll figure it out, right?
Yep. Yeah. All right. Let me give you one more language pattern idea, and then we'll move on to the big session. Um, we learned also about rapport building, and some of this stuff you've learned over time, but I'll just remind you about a few things. Right. We use tie downs to get agreement. Don't you think? Right. You know, right, correct, right? We're always we're making a statement, and then we're asking for kind of a believability when it comes to it, right? It's time to write an offer, don't you think? Right? You ready to go to that next house? We're ready to go to the next house, right? Right? We're moving things along. We make a statement. We ask for agreement. Okay. One of the things that they talked about was mirroring and matching. We've learned a lot about that in the past. One thing that I haven't heard too much about this time around, they talked about was that people like people who sound like them. People like people who sound like them. So an example of that is using some of the same words that they use, right? So for example, if you're listening very clearly to how your prospect is speaking, you could use words that are that are exactly the same as their words, right? If they say goal a lot, or if they say, I'm trying to think of a couple of good examples. You used a word just now, Jan, that was like slightly unusual. I'm trying to remember what it was. It just escaped me. But if you're listening for their words and you can use the exact same words, you're going to build rapport, and neither one of you is going to understand how it happened, right? See that tie down? Can anyone think of an example of that?
I guess I don't understand the question.
Yeah, let me work on that just a little bit more, and I'll come back with a better example for you. And then one last thing, and we'll move on. Yeah, and maybe I need to go back myself and listen to that a little bit more and get a better example. It'll probably come to me during the big session. Another example is what they call imitating the hello. Imitating the hello. So somebody you're calling, particularly a stranger, says hello, you go hello, right? If they say hello, say hello, this is Bill, right? You're imitating the way that they initiate the conversation. You initiate in a similar way, right? So if they're full of energy, you're full of energy. If they lack a little energy, you lack a little energy. If they're really fast, you go fast. If they're really slow, you go slow. That's going to forge that relationship right away.
But doesn't that present kind of a fakeness to the relationship, as it were? You're starting the relationship off on this is not who I am. So if I'm a really up and positive person, then
Are you an up and positive person 100% of the time?
no, but at the same time, you know,
I
do
don't think
I?
you're being fake. You're being, sometimes we have to adjust our personalities to
just to the situation.
to perform, right? I don't really like to like work a room, but I'm put in a situation where I have to work a room quite a bit, right? So I better figure out how to do it and be happy about it. Am I not being myself? No, not really. I mean, I'm a nice, friendly guy. I just prefer not to have to like work a room. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
All right, cool. Um, I'm continuing to review all these concepts too, and I'll continue to bring them to you so that we can keep you guys learning some of this material. Okay, thank you. Let me hit the stop.